I made it very clear from the first day of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump that this was not a collective failure, but this was a setup to whack him. And remember, I'm not Mr. Trumper out there, as many of you know, but it was so clear, so obvious to me. So they had to bring in up the cleanup team in their hazmat suits yesterday to come and speak to a Senate hearing on this issue because obviously Ray was inept. He wanted to appear to be inept when he said that, Trump was shot with shrapnel and not a bullet. And then the very next day, the FBI had a pimp slap down their own director and say, that's not so. He was shot with a bullet. And, of course, Cheeto, who was the inept, as they said, Secret Service director. You remember last week, every time she was asked a question, remember what her stock answer was at the beginning? She would always be so pleasing, pleasant, and polite.
So I appreciate you asking me that question, Chairman. So I appreciate you asking me that question, Chairman. So I appreciate you asking me that question, Chairman. So I appreciate you asking me that question, Chairman.
So that was Cheeto last week. And then afterwards, she would never answer the question. She would say, pending an existing investigation. It was such a horrible presentation on her part that even Democrats turned against her, and she resigned the very next day. Because she knows what went down. So between her and Ray, it was a disaster. So if you didn't believe in what I was saying from day one, their lack of testimony, their lack of forthrightness, their lack of transparency pushed you closer to me. As Sid has been saying every morning that I join him Monday through Fridays at 7:15. At first, he was adversarial. He called me a crazy. As you know, Bill O'Reilly said I was on LSD. I'm waiting for Bill O'Reilly's apology. And Sid is saying every day, Curtis, your theory is looking more and more like it's real. So they went to Central Casting yesterday, and they wheeled out this guy, Ronald Rowe, who was the acting director of Secret Service. Looked like one of these guys, Central Casting. And right away, he came out and threw himself on the sword.
Since my appointment as the acting director 1 week ago, I identified gaps in our security on July 13th and have implemented corrective actions. One of my first actions as acting director was traveling to the Butler Farm Show site to better understand how our protection failed. I went to the roof of the AGR building where the assailant fired shots, and I laid in a prone position to evaluate his line of sight. What I saw made me ashamed. As a career law enforcement officer and a 25-year veteran with the Secret Service, I cannot defend why that roof was not better secured.
So I said, well, that's a good start. Taking responsibility for what you said is ineptness and what I say is part of the setup, not a systemic failure, the setup. But that's a nice start, right, Diego? A good start. And then simultaneously afterwards, he just kept opting to blame everyone else under the sun. He said there were cell phone issues. They didn't have proper cell phone coverage. Why don't you use your freaking radios, right? I mean, we taxpayers buy the most sophisticated Motorola radios for all the law enforcement agencies. Then he wanted to blame local law enforcement. He blamed the state police in Pennsylvania. He blamed the Butler County Sheriff's Department. He blamed the city police of Butler. Blame them all. And those agencies have said, wait a second. How could you blame us? We show up early Saturday morning, the day of Trump's presentation. We're ready for a meeting that the Secret Service has called for because they're in charge of everything. And the Secret Service never showed up. So naturally, this guy out of Central Casting, Ronald Rowe, was asked about that. And he started stumbling and fumbling. And he kept saying systemic failure. And I keep saying set up. And then the FBI guy came in, the deputy director, the deputy dog to Ray, who, by the way, is best known for hiding Shamu El Jefe, Chris Christie's cell phone during Bridgegate in his safe. He was his private attorney during Bridgegate. he kept that cell phone in his safe, even though Christie lied, and said he had lost it. And for that, he got elevated to the FBI director when finally Trump did the right thing and whacked Comey. And Christie rode to the rescue and said, Donald, I got the perfect FBI director. Donald, here's your Big Mac. Here's your fries. Here's your strawberry shake. Here's your filet. I didn't even eat any when I went out for your order this time at Mickey D's, which is what Shamu El Jefe Chris Christie was known to do. Do the order run at Mickey D's for then President Donald Trump and eat like half of it on the way back to the White House. So then the question was asked of the deputy director, who was there to clean up Ray's mess. Have you checked into the encrypted accounts that Shooter Boy, Assassin Boy, had to people in Brussels, in Belgium, which is where all the spies are, to New Zealand, and to Germany? And he said the encrypted accounts have still not been gotten into at this point. The encrypted accounts have still not been gotten into at this point. What are you waiting for, FBI? Forever being inept, incompetent? Is that what you want us to believe? Who was he talking to? He was on that encrypted code talking to somebody before he shot 8 times at Donald Trump. He was sitting there in the cow pasture right by the picnic table next to the building that he scaled by stepping on the air conditioning box and lifting himself to the roof. Who was he talking to, FBI? Why don't you let us know? Where's the transparency? Secret Service, we found out in the hearing yesterday, was offered the use of drones, and they refused it. Justin Ellick, why would they refuse the use of drones when Shooter Boy had a drone himself? Cabiche, Diego, Cabiche, you understand now? The Secret Service was in charge of everything. If you're Donald Trump, you cannot trust the Secret Service. You cannot trust the FBI. You cannot trust the CIA. My God, if he didn't turn his head at that very moment that Shooter Boy started firing at him, it would have hit him right in the skull. He might have been in ICU and life support or dead and buried, a cadaver in formaldehyde, dead and buried, and there would have been chaos at the RNC convention in Milwaukee. And I say that's what people wanted. What people? Well, listen to our own Greg Kelly.
You know, I used to think our institutions were, on the up and up, right? Government, American government, sure. What could be wrong, right? I grew up, the Secret Service is an elite law enforcement agency. The FBI, those guys are fantastic, right? Working for the federal government is an honorable way to make a living and serve your country. Forget all of that crap.
This is Ray Kelly's son. Longest serving police commissioner in the history of the NYPD, and in my eyes, the best. Bratton couldn't even take his shoebox to Ray Kelly. But Ray Kelly also had spoken to me in the aftermath of 9/11. Remember, he was in charge of customs for the Clinton administration. And he told me straight up, none of these agencies share information. They don't. We were sitting on all this information that would have revealed the plot of Osama bin Laden to crash planes into the World Trade Center, into the Pentagon, and potentially into the Capitol or the White House itself. Yeah. Ray Kelly didn't trust them because when Ray Kelly became police commissioner the second time under Bloomberg, he asked Bloomberg, can I set up a special unit with outposts all over the world? I don't want to depend on the FBI. I don't want to depend on Secret Service. I don't want to depend on the CIA criminals in action. Look at what Ray Kelly did. He did it because we were the object of attacks. In his administration under Bloomberg, they prevented 13 attacks. The NYPD anti-terrorism unit, the specialists, that Ray Kelly got together with the permission of Bloomberg. He said, spend whatever you have to because we can't trust the feds to protect us. Not the FBI, not the CIA, criminals in action, not Secret Service. So then Greg Kelly yesterday was listening to the testimony of Ronald Rowe, who was brought in to clean up the flotsam and jetsam left behind by the former Secret Service Director Cheadle. And listen how he immediately did an intervention.
I have instructed the asset request for Secret Service protective details to be approved expeditiously and have ordered the maximum use of requested personnel at protective sites to address this heightened security environment.
Oh, shut up. Shut up.
That's right. You see, Kelly didn't go for it, Greg Kelly. I don't go for it. But because he looked like he was right out of Central Casting, he had the big sort of jarhead look. A lot of you said, yeah, this is what Secret Service Director looks like, not Cheadle. Don't be fooled by Central Casting. Look, I and Greg Kelly, we're not always in agreement on things, but on this, we're spot on. Sid is actually coming in our direction. Each morning I'm on with him. You got to listen, 7:15. Every morning I point to him all the new revelations, and he says, I'm coming closer to you than I was originally with O'Reilly, who said that I was in a drug-induced psychosis, stoned on LSD. I'm still waiting for my apology from O'Reilly. I'll be waiting a month to Sundays. And then Greg Kelly came to the same conclusion that I came to day one when the shots were fired, and I did 10 straight hours, starting at 7 o'clock with Noam Laden, as Cousin Brucey was kind enough to say, no, it's not time to play music, man. This is serious stuff. Curtis, please take over. Noam, please take over. And I was on it. Noam was on it. And it looked just as it appears to be now, a cover-up.
Maximum use, right. We're really going to, I don't trust this guy. I don't trust the Secret Service. I know there are some good guys in there, but man, Donald Trump is in serious trouble right now. The deep state wants him dead. They want him dead. This was deliberate. This was deliberate.
You hear that, Justin Ellick? Deliberate. Now, there's no bigger Trumper in the world than Greg Kelly, right? I mean, right, Diego? Biggest Trumper. Me, they call him Rhino, Republican in name only. But then what about Chuck Schumer, the schmuck to putz? Remember what he has said over and over again about national security agencies, CIA, criminals in action, FBI, Secret Service?
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
Who is he talking about? Donald Trump. When he took him on the first time around, 2016. And then the second time around, 2020. And what I believe he will do again is take him on the third time around. Now, when is it that Greg Kelly, Curtis Sliwa, and the schmuck to putz, Chucky Schumer, have ever agreed, the three of us, on anything? The Trinity, the Troika, the Trifecta. Could I hear the schmuck to putz again, Chuck E. Cheese Schumer?
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
Dumb or brave? Just like he was brave and stood up there and got shot, Ray, in the ear, not with shrapnel, with a bullet, and got up and said, fight, 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 fight. That's a man's man. You guys, you hide in the deep state. There's no doubt there's a deep state, and that's coming from so many different people. They're afraid of them. I'm not afraid of them. Trump's not afraid of them. You got to stand up to them like you stood up to bullies when you were a kid.